Today, we're tearing down a massive widespread illusion. Just the other week, I was reading about a highly skilled surgeon pulling in $500,000 a year who literally had to declare bankruptcy. Meanwhile, a retired janitor in that exact same city passed away quietly, leaving behind an $8 million portfolio. Like, how does that even happen? We've all been sold this idea that a massive salary automatically equals true wealth. But the eye-opening truth we found in our source material is this: your salary alone is never going to make you rich. And today we're going to look at the exact math that proves it.
Let's dive right into this comparison. Over on the left, we've got a profile known as a Henry. That stands for high earner, not rich yet. So picture a professional making 200 grand a year. On paper, they look totally wealthy. But in reality, they're completely trapped by their lifestyle expenses, and their actual net worth is basically zero. Now look at the right side. This is a modest earner with a perfectly average salary. But instead of spending every dime, they quietly protect their surplus cash. And over time, they build an absolute empire of compounding assets. The secret here isn't the size of the paycheck, guys. It's the math behind it.
Section 1. The ceiling of a salary, and why trading your time for money is a trap.
Ask yourself a really simple question. Can you work 80 hours a week forever? If you want to double your salary right now, the easiest way is just to double your hours. But we all know that's physically and mentally impossible, right? The human body isn't a machine. You can't just run at double capacity without absolutely destroying your health.
And that brings us to the real bottleneck: 24 hours. Time is literally the one strictly capped, non-renewable resource in the entire universe. You can't manufacture more of it, and you certainly can't stockpile it for later. When you anchor your wealth generation to a strictly limited resource like time, you are mathematically guaranteeing a ceiling on your potential.
Let's break down the actual physics of a salary. When you accept a paycheck, you aren't actually being paid for your intrinsic value. You're just selling blocks of your time at a wholesale discount. Your employer takes all the risk, sure, but in exchange, they capture the massive surplus value that your labor produces. And because your hours are finite, your earning potential is completely finite too. You simply can't outwork the rotation of the earth. As long as your income requires you to physically be somewhere, you're stuck in a box.
Section 2. Taxes and lifestyle. This is the silent drain on your wealth.
Now, the absolutely crucial thing to understand here is the difference between your gross illusion and your net reality. Take an average $65,000 salary here in the States. You probably think, great, I've got $65K to build my life. But the system takes its cut first. Federal taxes, state taxes, mandatory Social Security. Suddenly, nearly 17 grand evaporates before a single penny even hits your checking account. Boom, you're instantly down to $48,000. You're forced to budget your entire survival on a vastly lower number than the value your employer actually assigned to your time.
And honestly, it gets even worse for higher earners. Your salary is classified as ordinary income, which is heavily penalized. It's taxed at the highest marginal rates in the entire tax code. If you try to push harder and earn more, the system actively turns up the friction to keep you exactly where you are. But on the flip side, capital gains, so money you earn from investments, is taxed at much lower rates, maxing out at just 20% for most folks. The system literally rolls out the red carpet for capital owners, all while taxing hard labor into submission.
Then, we have our own psychology working against us. It's called hedonic adaptation, or lifestyle creep. Let's say you get a raise to 60 grand. What happens next? Well, maybe you lease a nicer car. You rent a slightly bigger apartment. Your expenses just effortlessly expand to swallow up your new income. Your actual wealth-building surplus, it stays completely frozen at zero. These are the classic golden handcuffs. You become entirely dependent on that next payroll injection just to keep your lifestyle from collapsing.
We've all heard the golden rule, right? The 50-30-20 rule. Save 20% of your income. But the real-world data paints a totally different picture. Even the top 10% of high earners only manage to save an average of about 12%. They consistently ignore their future needs to spend on immediate, depreciating wants. They're trading the raw material that could buy their future freedom for things like metal, plastic, and expensive vacations.
Section 3. The real math of wealth, and how to finally decouple your income from your time.
Let's look at some undeniable math. If you just leave 200 euros a month in a standard bank account for 20 years, you'll end up with 48,000 euros. And thanks to inflation, its actual purchasing power is going to be way less by then. But if you put that exact same 200 euros to work in an investment yielding a modest 7% return, it compounds. Your returns actually start generating their own returns. You end up with roughly 100,000 euros. Your money starts working while you sleep, it doesn't clock out, and it definitely doesn't take holidays.
A really cool way to visualize this is the rule of 72. It's just a simple math shortcut. You take the number 72 and divide it by your interest rate, and that tells you exactly how many years it'll take for your money to double on its own. So if you're getting an 8% return, 72 divided by 8 is 9. That means your money doubles every 9 years, completely independent of your daily labor. Pretty amazing, right?
If you're finding this valuable, please subscribe to Wealth Lab and share this explainer with your friends and family. It really helps us grow.
There's a great quote from Hugh Hefner here. Life is too short to be living somebody else's dream. And he hits the nail on the head. The core concept behind financial freedom is leverage. The wealthy don't just use compound interest. They use strategic leverage to expand their resources way beyond their physical limits. Leverage is the tool that accelerates your financial independence so you can actually live your own dream, instead of just working to fund your employer's empire.
Section 4. What actually builds wealth and how to start creating your own assets.
Look, there are basically 4 types of income in the modern economy. Type 1 is earned income. That's your standard salary. It's highly taxed and strictly capped by the clock. If you want to build real wealth, you have to migrate your money out of Type 1. You want to move it into Type 2, which is portfolio income. Think stocks and bonds. Then there's Type 3, passive income, like royalties or real estate. And Type 4, business income. The wealthy spend their time operating in Types 2, 3, and 4, so their money works completely independently of their daily schedule.
Now, I'm not saying you should just march in and quit your job tomorrow. That's a recipe for disaster. Here's a much better blueprint. Phase 1 is the overlap phase. You keep your job, but you ruthlessly protect your surplus. Don't upgrade your car. Take every single spare dollar and use it to fund your new assets. Then comes Phase 2, the bridge phase. This is where your new alternative income actually starts covering your basic bills. Suddenly, you have leverage. Your day job is no longer a trap. It's just a funding mechanism for your future freedom.
To really speed this up, you need to use something called skill stocking. You don't have to be the absolute #1 expert in the world at any single thing. You just need to be in the top 10% of 3 related skills. So for example, if you combine project management, basic coding, and some copywriting, suddenly you aren't just another employee. You're a highly leveraged one-person infrastructure. You can create digital assets that literally cost nothing to replicate, and they can pay you 1,000 times over for one single effort.
And this is really what brings the whole shebang together. True wealth comes from overcoming constraints. You identify the bottleneck, which for most of us is our time, and you use leverage to smash right through it. Whether that's through a diversified stock portfolio, digital products, or real estate, the goal is to stop carrying buckets of water and finally build a pipeline.
So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Look closely at your daily routine. Look at exactly where your time goes. Are you building your own empire, or are you just funding someone else's? Thank you for joining us today. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to Wealth Lab. We'll see you in the next one.